Welcome to Part 2 of Module 7, the initial team meeting and mobilizing the team. This seventh in a series of online learning modules provides an introduction to care coordination using the Wraparound practice model in alignment with the National Wraparound Initiative. These modules focus on providing an introduction to the practice model, wraparound facilitation skills and competencies to implement the model, and links to further resources for the learner about wraparound practices. The Butler County Family and Children First Council partnered with the Center for School-Based Mental Health Programs at Miami University to produce the learning modules. Please push the forward arrow on the bottom right to advance to the next slide. After discussing the strengths with the team, the next step is to review the family vision. During the engagement phase, you were able to hear from the family what they wanted life to be like or what the family hopes for. You want to recount this for the team. This is often captured in the closing of the strengths, needs, and culture discovery narrative and may sound something like, the family is hoping to bring peace back to the family as everyone understands and supports each other. Or, in Sam's case, Tracy and Gil hope the family will have more days when they can laugh, play, and enjoy being with each other. You will share this vision with the team as you develop the team mission. After sharing this and an opportunity for the family to express where they want to go, the facilitator explains the team needs to develop a mission statement that the whole team can buy into and work together on while the family is involved in wraparound. While a vision can focus on the distant future or sometimes involves a wide vision for a better life, the mission should be a simple sentence to keep the team focused on their tasks that they all can agree to work on together. Ideally, it will incorporate the family's hopes and dreams for their family, but may be narrower and have some qualifiers that come out of the team discussion as they formulate the statement. This brings up the issue of various forms of decision-making in groups. In this particular task, you are looking for consensus from all of the team members. In the Smiths family's case, their family vision was, Tracy and Gil hope the family will have more days when they can laugh, play, and enjoy being with each other. From this, the team developed a mission statement. Let's look at Sam's team working on consensus of a team mission statement.
So, Gil and Tracy, what are you hoping in the next year or so, however long wraparound's involved, to be able to see happen in your family?
I'd like to be able to see him to stay in our home.
Okay.
Because when he's been in and out of Children's Hospital, they've actually suggested that he might do better in a family by maybe putting him in an institution, and that's just not going to happen. We just love him, and I know that with help that we'll be able to see him through this. So that's our goal, is to be able to keep him in our home, not just out of the hospital, but to be able to keep him in our home and keep him safe and the family safe.
Keep Sam safe and
Yes.
the family.
And really to get help with control of his anger issues and his problem.
Okay. So less anger. And anything else?
Well, I'd like to see him building a better relationship with his sister.
Okay.
I think that is very important.
Okay. Do you have anything that you would like to add as a cousin?
I think I've always enjoyed going over to Tracy and Gil's house, and so when they have fun together, it's a really good time. And so I think just doing some of these things, I'd like to see just the family have more fun together, be able to laugh, and just have more quality time as a family.
Okay. How about you, Cindy?
From a Board of DD perspective, we definitely want to keep him in the home and facilitate anything we can to do that.
So kind of really relating to staying kind of this piece of it. How about you, Miranda?
I just really want them to have some realistic tools they can use to feel confident. that when situations do arise, that they know what to do to handle it. She spoke earlier about knowing when to pick your battles, knowing what works and what doesn't work. So I want them to have kind of just realistic tools to help everybody get along better.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
I've noticed the relationship between Maggie and Sam has been going downhill, and I'd like to see us work towards keeping that stronger.
Can anybody on the team kind of come up with a statement that will help us keep our focus as we're going through this plan? The team will help.
I'm just hearing that they really want to keep their family together.
So keeping their family together.
And maybe to provide resources for, different people we can contact with different issues.
So those tools,
For the
kind of
tools,
thing.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think a big part of it is to keep Sam, I'm kind of thinking how to say this. Sometimes the family, we feel like we're walking on eggshells, so to speak, to meet his, whatever he is having, whatever's going on at the moment with him. I'd like to find ways to get him more to understand his effects of how it is affecting our family and make him a part, to kind of take responsibility for some of his actions. I don't know if this is kind of like a mission, but somehow to work with him to where he wants to be a part of moving forward and trying to, I don't know, that's probably not a good way of putting it, but
What do you think about maybe saying helping Sam be a part of the
maybe the
helping-
solution,
helping
not
everything
the
get
problem.
better.
Yes, just helping him to, I think there has to be some understanding on his part. Maybe he's missing that piece.
Want to be a part of
Yes.
the solution?
Yes.
As you can see from the clip, it focuses more on Sam, but if this happens, it will go towards the family's hope of enjoying each other more. In another family, the mom's vision is for her son to be happy and successful and to have more confidence in himself. She wants him to be able to have fun in a positive way, and the way that will not get in trouble or be in detention. She would like him to graduate high school and to have a bright future. From this, the team agreed to work on helping the family to reestablish and strengthen their relationship, as mom feels confident about her son's future, and he will be making good choices to achieve success. Let's pause for a minute and look at the coaching target again for effective partnering and positioning of the facilitator with the family and team members. The third associated skill with this target is building consensus and accountability around the team mission. As can be seen in the graph, the best practice ensures the youth and family vision is articulated and all team members' perspectives are understood. From this, the team mission is developed and used to evaluate whether the planning is effective. Everyone will share in the implementation of the plan. This then is shared with the entire team and those who cannot attend a particular meeting. Other teams like to create mission statements using one of the strengths of the youth as the theme. For instance, in the earlier example, we talked about how Sam was good with Legos. Maybe his mission is about building his team up to support Sam's success at home and in the community, and then this logo can be used on all of his plans. Other teams like to create acronyms using the family's name. Team Sheila supports help and enjoyment, impacting love and attention. No matter the format, the mission will be used to direct the team and make sure the work is leading everyone down the same path. Therefore, everyone needs to agree on the mission, and it should be displayed at your meetings so that you can help remind the team throughout the process. Is this a task or discussion that will help us achieve our mission? The next step is reviewing the needs that you have generated with the team. You will want to briefly explain again what we mean by needs as those underlying drives of family members that, if met, will help us achieve the mission we are all focused on. The needs are listed on a poster, ideally to get everyone on the same page. The more people you get a chance to talk with during the engagement and team development phase, the more need statements you can develop. It is not uncommon for themes to develop, as many will see similar patterns the family should work toward, such as consistency, trust, coping, bonding, communication, positive self-worth, etc. Good discoveries will produce 25 to 50 need statements, again some with common themes, but they are created from different perspectives of each team member. Displaying need statements on poster-sized paper creates a visual mechanism that the team can use to prioritize and hone in on the needs that, if addressed, will go furthest in helping to achieve the mission. When prioritizing, it is important to discuss how the decisions of which needs to focus on will be decided. Ideally, you want consensus as to the needs to focus on to achieve the team mission. Sometimes teams decide to vote on them, giving extra votes to the family and youth they are planning around. The youth or family may see a need that for them is more immediate, in need of assistance. Other team members may want to tackle something deeper and more transformative, such as a youth having an opportunity to work on their grief of losing a parent. The beauty of Wraparound is you can work on multiple needs throughout the process. Your job as the facilitator is to make sure everyone's voices are heard and help the team come to consensus as best as possible. There will be times when this can't happen, but a compromise is usually acceptable to the team, especially when you can ensure family voice and choice is present during this discussion. As you are sharing the needs with the team, keep in mind you do not want to go too fast or too slow, as the needs really drive which direction your team will go. If you read each bullet verbatim, teams will lose interest. If you go over something too fast, the value may be missed. Each team will require a different amount of needs introductions, stories to clarify, and opportunities to ask questions. After you have had a chance to share the needs, the team needs to prioritize which areas to work on first. A good way to do this is to vote. Some teams have used a prioritization process where they give team members dots, and each team member has different colored dots with numbers 1, 2, and 3. They can use these dots to vote on which ones they feel will most impact the mission and vision. Some facilitators give the family members one color and the rest of the team a different color to ensure family voice and choice is present. Depending on the age of the youth, you may need to prep them before the meeting or ask someone they trust to help them, as seeing the list of needs could be overwhelming. Let's look again at a coaching target that was developed by those during Wraparound in Ohio regarding needs aligning with the process and products of Wraparound. In the best practice demonstration, need statements should be meaningful to the family and are seen as the driving forces behind negative behavior and create meaning out of adverse situations the youth and family experience. The facilitator then guides the team in a non-judgmental dialogue of the different perspectives of the team members. This allows the team to see many alternatives to what help could look like for the family and youth. Asking team members to prioritize needs can be daunting. Here are some tips or prompts you can use to help them choose where they want to start. Select the need with the highest priority, which will help us get at this mission. This is your best bet for success. Discuss what will be seen if the need is met. Also, are there needs that, if they are met, will eliminate some of the other items on the list? These discussions may be used later when you are planning and developing outcomes, so make sure you take some notes during this discussion. Let's look at Sam's team starting the prioritizing of his needs.
So, the next part of what we're going to be trying to plan around is we are now kind of aware of where the struggles are, what has brought the family into Wraparound, Sam's aggression, his anger, his constant hospitalizations. That's the crisis that brings everybody together, that says we can't do this by ourselves. So what we're trying to figure out is what might be underneath those behaviors that are all causing all of the chaos. And when we look in Wraparound, we look at for some of those things that most of us have a need for, and we all try to meet our needs in different ways. And what we recognize is that probably Sam has something that's like a kind of like a gap, and he's trying to fill it up. And so he's filling it up right now with feeling very angry, feeling very upset, kind of exploding, and then ending up in the hospital and causing all of this chaos and kind of broken relationship. So what we want to do is we want to kind of look at some possible needs for Sam that I came up with after visiting with them, meeting Sam, and talking with everybody on the team, trying to come up with an understanding of what might be underneath these behaviors. So what I'd like the team to do is think about these things, think about how they might fit into the help that we just said in our mission of looking at helping Sam want to be part of the solution and just bringing the family together. And Sam's anger, his aggression, his acting out, and the hospitalization. So I'm going to go around the room and just ask if everybody could give me their top one or two of what they think might be possibly kind of feeding into all of this anger. So let's start with you, Gil. Do you have any?
It's hard to figure out because anything can cause him to be angry. He gets up angry, and he'll say that. So it's hard to pinpoint any one thing that is going to cause him to be angry. And it could start over, he hasn't got any chocolate milk, or, somebody's eating his cereal, or somebody looks at him wrong.
Right.
Just any little thing.
So maybe thinking about it as to why would anybody act that way? Why, if you got up in the morning and you were just mad and somebody was always giving you the wrong breakfast, why would you be feeling that way? Is there something that is kind of driving that? Just knowing that, Sam's history and his life experiences.
Well, I think the very first one, the communication, I think his perception of what he thinks and what's really going on are two different things.
Okay.
And somehow trying to fill that gap in to where given his disabilities and things, he doesn't always understand, even a tone of voice can start, he might be thinking, you're angry at me, when you're sitting back going, what did I say? That kind of thing. So that first one, the communication and perception, I think perception should be up there, what he perceives is a big goal right there, is trying to find ways to get him to be able to express his, I'm not going to say anger, but express what internally is going on with him that he himself doesn't even know. Maybe just something as simple, and I don't know, maybe I know that the therapist would know this, but maybe just getting up on a day holding a red card. Okay, this is the way I feel today, don't approach me. versus,
We're gonna
you
get to
know.
those ideas.
That's what I'm saying, I just don't know, but
So-
the communication is very, very,
So right now, we're gonna focus on the
biggest
big
thing,
need,
so.
and the next step that we're going to talk about is
Okay.
just some ideas on how we might
I've
be
got
able to
you.
fill
Okay.
that need. So Tracy thinks communication is huge.
Right.
Is anybody in agreement with her on that? The whole team, okay. Okay, are there other needs in here that we think might be also factoring into this?
Well, it kind of sparked when you said the word gap is from a developmental point of view. He's growing and all of his developmental skills and all the areas of development aren't on the same level, you know, so he's got lesser skills in reading, for example, and so it's got to be kind of, you know, unsettling for him, you know, that like the communication, the readings, you know, his
That
motor motor is a strength with him, and, you know, things like that, you know, all the skills don't add up to be like a typically developing 11-year-old, so.
Yeah, he sees his sister reading and doing all this, and writing stories and everything, and he can't do that. So it leaves him out of a lot of things that he used to do with his sister.
So it sounds to me like I'm hearing the team say maybe there is a real need for Sam to feel like he fits in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm allowed that.
Once you have prioritized the needs, you want to begin planning around the one given greatest priority. Before you start brainstorming ways to meet your need, ask them to keep in mind the following areas. What will the team see if this need is met? You can say this will help the team to create some measurable outcomes to track progress. What family, team, and community strengths can be used to support this need? This will help remind them as they enter into brainstorming ideas. They want to draw upon family, team, and community strengths, which should help them generate ideas more likely to work. Are there any barriers we need to consider? You may prompt them after we have brainstormed ideas and the family chooses which one they would like to implement. We will consider any barriers, so as plan around addressing the barriers. Just like we measure our height or weight to see how we are progressing, we need to further measure how well the team is working toward meeting the needs. Before we go further in developing strategies to meet the needs, we want to identify outcomes to measure how we will know how we are doing. Anecdotal thoughts about it is getting better is not enough, as you want some data to monitor over time. It does not have to be scientific, but it does have to be meaningful to the family. As the facilitator, you want to regularly check in with the family and team and collect data so you can show change over time. This is important to track patterns and to remind the team how far they have come or when it is time to readjust the plan if they are stuck and not getting where they want to be. At this stage, you are planning to capture success in bringing about the hope for change, as well as improvement in initial concerns that brought the youth and family into Wraparound. Make sure your outcomes are positively framed, focusing on what they are doing well or what behaviors you want to see instead of tracking the negatives or what you don't want to see. They need to be simple to track or record so that it will be more likely to be done. They will be indicators or benchmarks of meeting a need. The next step is brainstorming options. You will need to explain what brainstorming is. The team will be throwing out ideas and you will be posting them so they can be captured for later discussion. The team is asked to hold off commenting on them or saying things like, "We have tried this before," or "That won't work." Remind your team there is no such thing as a bad idea. This sets the stage, giving them permission to be creative without judgment and allowing for more non-traditional ideas. One silly thought may prompt someone else to think of something really creative or clever. Before you start picking ideas that you want to integrate into the plan, have the team come up with at least 10 ideas. This helps ensure a more robust process. It has been found often that the first several ideas are often the standard responses to meeting needs, and as the team is pushed to think of more, they come up with something they had never thought of or tried before. By pushing the team to come up with more ideas, they are more likely to come up with strategies to get at the root cause of problematic behaviors versus trying to solely contain behaviors, which often are the first ideas people go to. Ideally, there should be a mix of formal supports or services, as well as ideas which don't cost anything or utilize some of the community and natural supports. If the team gets stuck, redirect them back to the strengths list to see if rereading it spurs another idea. Other facilitation approaches include putting team members into groups of 2 and 3 and have them create some ideas in pairs. Sometimes members are more forthcoming in a smaller group. Another idea is to ask everyone to do 1 or 2 post-it notes of ideas and then share them individually to get the list started. This can help with those who like to think more about it before saying it, as opposed to those who like to think out loud. As the facilitator, you need to keep this process moving, as it is not uncommon for the team to get stuck on one idea and want to discuss it and tweak it. While that is important, this step is really about getting all of the ideas on the table first. Let's look at Sam's team again. First, identifying what they hope to see if the need were met, and then doing some brainstorming of ways to meet the need.
Okay, so the need that the team has decided to plan around is this need of Sam being able to kind of understand, other people trying to understand what he's communicating and him understanding what other people are communicating. So it's that kind of give and take of communication. What are we hoping that we'll see if that starts to resolve itself?
Well, I'd like to see his anger reduced because he's able to tell us,
Less anger.
this is what's bothering me.
So what I'm hoping to do by getting this list from you is to guide the team in some ways that we can monitor our progress. Because we want to make sure as we're going through this process that we're making a difference, that the help is actually helpful. And if we find out as we go through in our planning is that the amount of anger is not changing, then that might tell us something as a team. So what else do we think we might be seeing?
I think that we would tying in with less anger. I think that there'd be less outbursts where, or there'd be more times where he's able to manage that anger safely, I think, which would lead to less time in the hospital and more time with you guys. I also think morning time would go better before school. Maybe lead to a better school day.
Better school. Okay, so we're going to think about some ways that we might want to do this. Some ideas to try. When we brainstorm, we kind of just put it all in a big pile. We don't stop and talk about whether something's going to be helpful, not helpful. We're going to think about just all these different ideas of what might help him be able to communicate more easily and understand communication. Can be things that are available in your home that you can do, things that are out in the community, things that are formal services like what Miranda brings to the table. So we're going to just put our ideas up as we go through the process. We're going to list them all, then we're going to stop and we're going to say, okay, out of all of these ideas, what fits into what we know are strengths for this family? And then we're going to ask Gil and Tracy to decide what they would like to try. And we're going to try something out for the next, until we meet again, then we'll get together and we'll try to evaluate how is this going? What are our progress? Are there barriers with it? So let's just get some ideas rolling around communication. What do we know might help with communication?
That's where you guys come in, because if I knew, I'd be doing it. So that's why we're here. We need to know some things that we haven't tried or that we need to try, so.
I heard you say a red card though.
Well, I was
So maybe kind of color cards for him to use rather than
Something.
words? Okay.
well, just if he could, just like on days when he gets up feeling whatever he's feeling, if he had, say, like a red card, don't approach me, or this is a green card, I'm having a good day, but then give one to the whole family. Because guess what? There's days we don't all get up feeling, you know?
Okay.
Maybe I
So
need to hold up a red card and say, okay, I'm struggling right now with whatever.
Well, you got
That's
one
a great
already.
idea.
And I
Anybody
love what you
else?
said, the modeling, you know,
Modeling.
you know, like, so,
Okay.
again, he doesn't feel like he doesn't fit in.
Right, so
Everybody else has
we all
bad
have
days too,
this.
and you gotta learn to deal with it.
Except we're not destructive.
Yeah.
I'm trying
right,
to teach
right.
him that there's
Okay.
other ways.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because he likes his tablet so much, what about using emojis to put on your door to show, like, here's how I'm feeling today? Maybe everybody could do that.
Yeah, smiley face and
Yeah.
sad face.
You know, those emojis the kids use for.
Okay. Yes.
Good. Anything else?
Miranda, have you used social stories with him at the family focus?
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, I don't know, do you
That's
think
an
that would
idea.
be?
We can, we'll put it out there, we don't have to judge right now. Because we'll keep going back to this list as we go through our planning and go, okay, is there something else we need to add in?
I would love to hang out with them more. Maybe we can go
Okay.
fishing or play some basketball together. Some one-on-one guy time.
Okay, anything else?
How about family therapy? Have you guys ever done family therapy?
Okay.
And I know we're looking at summer camps, I know there's some
That's-
great building things coming up that,
Yes, that would be great. He would like that.
and where he could be with some other kids his
Mm-hmm.
age.
And keeping him in the basketball program, that helps a lot with him. He really enjoys that.
Anything else?
What about art as a way to express? Maybe some art class or club at school? It's a way to express himself.
Okay. I'll have to spell so. There we go. Anything else?
Once the team has created a list, you will guide the team in identifying which ones they want to put into action. You may ask which ones align with the family strength or preferences. Then ask the youth and family if there are some that they think will work for their family. Typically, families are motivated when they choose something that interests them, and you are affirming their motivation and eagerness by starting there. Ask the youth and the parents if there are any that they definitely are not comfortable trying, so as to show you are listening to their voice. Depending on how they answer, maybe the idea can be tweaked and then work for them, or when they hear discussion of what is hoped to achieve by doing the idea, they may change their decision. In the end, though, it is their decision. Keep in mind the process of finalizing options may require some negotiation, as team members may feel strongly one way or the other. Once you have decided what may help the family with this particular need of theirs, you need to determine who will do it. When will this happen? How often will the family get support? Be specific and realistic in these areas. Discuss any barriers the team can anticipate to make it more likely the help will happen. It is really easy to say that a family will be consistent in their discipline, but how realistic is it for them to implement it? Many of us can say that we should eat less carbs or exercise more or get more sleep, but that does not mean we can do it without extra help or support. Adjust the action step if needed and plan to work around potential barriers. By exploring barriers and assigning tasks, you are setting up the team for shared accountability in making real help happen for the family. If you did a good job formulating the need statements, there should be many ways to meet the need, so don't limit yourself to just focusing on one solution or getting stuck on implementing one idea. Also, let's say one idea is a particular provider and they have a wait list. You may ask the team what they hoped for from that provider, and when you widen out the perspective beyond a particular program or provider and focus what the team thought they could help with, then break it down. Who else does that or can provide that kind of help? it will generate another response. Let's see Sam's team choosing action steps utilizing the family and team strength.
So out of these things, what do we think would match up with the strengths that we've identified?
I really like the hanging out with Chris as a great idea. I like that one a lot, just to get out of the house. It would give you guys a little bit of a break too, and you could do something he loves, because he loves to fish. So you could see if he's outfished Chris over here.
Well, basketball, that's great sensory input too for him.
So the basketball team too?
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah,
that's
or-
something that we want to make
and
sure
with
we're
you guys.
doing?
Yeah.
Because that's definitely a strength for his, and we see that he has success there.
I like the family therapy piece of it.
Okay.
I think we would all benefit. You know, the family,
Okay.
make the whole family involved, including the sister.
And what strength do you think would we draw from for the family therapy?
Maybe a thing of how to get along, or some way of, I don't know, for him to interact with the family.
Well, I just think the fact that they love spending time together as a family.
Yeah, doing this.
This would just be a more structured way
Okay.
to do that.
Okay. Any other things that we think we need to try between now and the next meeting? Is anybody interested in maybe doing something along the lines of the cards or
I'd be willing to help out with some of that. That's right in my,
your wheelhouse?
to
Okay.
be able to help them maybe with, we can talk about whether we do the cards or the
Emoji or the-
emojis. Yeah, and really make that, we'll maybe talk to him about it and
That's
see
what
what
I was
he
gonna
wants.
say, include him, that would, he'd probably like it, and the art piece of it, if he could just draw the emojis himself,
Yeah.
and do
Good
that, something like
idea.
that, I'm like,
Yeah,
that would be time well spent.
okay, great idea. Well, we're coming to the end of our meeting, so I wanted to make sure that we all know what we're going to be working on between now and the next meeting. Miranda's going to work with Sam on coming up with some kind of system of where he doesn't have to use language to indicate how he's feeling. And we're going to use Sam's love of art and his creativity to work on this. Then Chris is going to spend some time fishing with him and just building up that one-on-one relationship with him. Who would like to take care of referrals for family therapy?
We don't necessarily refer, but I could give them resources and some,
Okay.
several places that, I
Okay.
know have been helpful for other people.
Provide resources. And then, which one of you two would like to follow up on what she does?
I will.
Okay. Okay, and then we talked about the basketball team. Who would like to be responsible for getting Sam going and kind of supporting him at the team coming and going?
Oh, I take him.
Okay. Okay. So these are all the things that we're going to work on between now and the next meeting. And the team's agreed that we will get together again in 2 weeks to see how our progress.
When youth and families come into Wraparound, they often have crises in their life. This may have been something partially addressed as part of immediate crisis stabilization during the initial engagement. At any time during the wraparound process, families may indicate concerns about safety or crises. Oftentimes, when prioritizing the first need, crises or safety issues will be brought up. Tying planning to prevent crises to the unmet need that is leading to the behavior is important. The team wants to identify why or what need is leading to the crises or unsafe behavior. The family often feels they need safety, but they will want to dig deeper and explore the underlying need or needs that are not being met in order to get at the source of the problem. Planning for crises and safety are discussed more in depth in Modules 10 and 11. As a facilitator, you will want to check in with the team and determine if this particular type of planning is needed at this time. This may be an opportunity to update or expand upon what has already been done to include the other team members. You want to ask when in the process to create these prevention plans and how often to revisit them based on the behaviors the family or team is reporting. Be prepared to stop the wraparound planning, as some meetings will be redirected to addressing concerns to keep everyone safe. It is also not uncommon that many crises or safety concerns will get addressed as part of the wraparound planning. When you focus on addressing the whole and the heart needs, youth oftentimes do not feel the need to act out in unsafe ways. It is not uncommon for the team to be doing well and then have a crisis. The family may feel disheartened and want to give up. Keeping track regularly of how the team is addressing needs can help refine the response of how to handle the crises as the team moves forward. By showing progress over time, it can also help remind them when things were getting better or provide more of a context of the current situation and possibly see it more as a bump in the road as opposed to it's all gone downhill. At this point, if you have time, you could start planning around the second prioritized need. You would repeat the steps of brainstorming through securing commitments and choosing outcomes to track. If you did not get through all of the agenda for the first meeting, ideally you would want to schedule another meeting within the week to pick up where you left off. Either way, you want to wrap up by summarizing where you are at in the planning process. In order to ensure you are facilitating in a way that makes team members want to stay engaged and continue to work with the family, check in at the end of each meeting to discuss what worked and what can be improved. Ask open-ended questions like, was this helpful? Did we accomplish what we hoped to? Are our future plans on par with the overall mission? And conclude on a positive note. Affirm all parts that worked well so members leave on a positive note. If in preparing for this meeting you thought of some fun activities, you may want to insert them here if you haven't already to end on a fun note. Some programs do random surveys of teams to solicit feedback about the process, the facilitator's role, the connection to the 10 principles, and other items related to the plan. Being open and vulnerable to constructive feedback is not easy, but it does show the family and team you want to make this the best process possible. You can also utilize peer coaching, observations, and fidelity measures to help monitor progress of the team and process on a larger scale. Let's look at Sam's team again as they wrap up their initial meeting.
So I just want to check in with you and see, has this meeting helped, and how do you feel it's gone?
I think we got a lot of good ideas up there, and you know, I think it's very possible on a lot of them working, because he'll go along with just about anything. It was just to help him. He looks out for number one.
Okay.
You know.
I just feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better to know that there's so many people that's willing to help us, because we've just not been able to do it by ourselves. So just having all these resources and know that there's other people that can help us through this, it really means a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
I think we're really productive. A lot of new ideas and
Thanks, we
people
can do it.
chipping in.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks, and I'll be in touch with you in between times to see how things are going.
Okay.
Before you leave, be sure to schedule the next meeting or two while the bulk of your team is present. Based on where you left off, propose the agenda for the next meeting and double check with your team members to make sure you are on the right page for what the agenda should be. Recognizing life and crises can change things. As the one who is managing the process, you want to propose when team members meet again, being mindful of what is going on with the family, the intensity of response needed, and the dynamic of team building. It is not a bad idea to even get 2 or 3 meetings on the schedule, especially in the early phase of the process, as calendars fill up fast and you need to get enough help going to impact the needs you are planning around. You will want to confirm who needs to be there for this particular meeting's agenda, which may influence its timing and location. Summarize again the commitments that were made and who is doing what. Thank everyone for their participation and hard work. In the next module, we will discuss preparation for the ongoing wraparound meetings, as well as work to be done in between meetings to stay connected to the family and team, and keep everyone on track and to document the plan of care the team is developing. Congratulations! You have completed Module 7, First Team Meeting and Mobilizing the Team.